Connecting to the internet.
Internet.
Networking software.
World Wide Web thing on a computer today.
Computer.
NetSurfer Pro.
Hello and welcome to NetSurfer Pro, a whirlwind ride through the World Wide Web. I am, as always, your host, Matt, and with me is...
your co-host, Galen, and boy, I've got something I want to talk about. So I wanted to do a State of the Meme over Metopia's character creator, just sort of like, mention, hey, this is a big thing and it's kind of fun, but I got a targeted ad, and I need to talk about it. So, we all know what targeted ads are, right? Your data is all being sold to various corporations so that they can shove something in front of your face that they think you'll buy. Personal information is all openly available, basically, to anybody except personal users. You are the product. We all know this. We all kind of don't care anymore, I think. Like, we do care, but, like, from a ethereal standpoint. But I have run into literally the strangest example of it I've ever seen. So, okay. I think that YouTube thinks, like, I'm an alt-right asshole, because I keep getting a lot of, Matt Walsh and, like, whatever in my recommendeds. At the very least, they see, like, oh, you watch Jack Saint. That means that you want to watch Sargon of Akkad, I guess. But I got an ad for a baby food that I'm not going to say the name of because they don't get free promotion.
You have
I
to
also
pay
made
us.
out of forgotten it. Yeah, exactly. If you want to pay us, don't, because of what I'm about to say. So, the ad for the baby food was specifically, this is how they were selling it. This baby food has 100% of vitamin, whatever that vitamin is. Like, nutritional value object X. And what sets it apart isn't just that other competing brands have 50% of Object X. It's that specifically those brands don't give America as much of nutrition value X as they do other countries. Like, they showed a graph that's like, America is 50% of value, and then, like, China is 70% of value, and, I don't know, Russia or Germany or whatever is, like 80% of value. And so, here's why I want to talk about this. Like, if it isn't already self-evident as to why this is so fucking strange and kind of hilarious to me, this is a baby food that is selling itself not just on the regular we have more than our competing brand sort of selling point, but specifically targeting like that like American-made product demographic. The real American jobs, American genes, whatever, but also like the fuck China demographic. Like, it is I can tell you exactly what happened. This is exactly what happened. There was a really big boardroom. It was a big circular table, and around it is like 15 guys who all look like Pete from Disney, and they all have big cigars and really, really large suits. And one of them said, did you hear about January 6th when there was this big coup to try and take over the government by a bunch of people who were following this Q guy? And faceless, soulless guy number 2 said, yeah, I think we need to pander to that demographic. And so, I wanted to highlight this, not just because I thought it was funny, because I did, but I also think that if this is a new trend that catches on, the whole American-made whatever is already, like, it's subtly that, American jingoism, sort of like, real American jobs, real American heroes. Like, it's already subtly selling to that. This is, like, as overtly selling to, like, cue nationalism as you can do without outright saying, hey, buy this baby product for when the storm's coming.
It's
You know?
it's very much like people who you want to upcharge have to believe that they're spending their money wisely. And so you target people who will give into whatever cause you're trying to sell them on.
Yeah.
Grifting, basically.
It's grifting. And, like, you know, in some instances I say, sure, get on that grift. But in many instances, like this, I would say, no, don't get in on that grift, actually. Leave that grift alone. That grift is dangerous to this country.
Honestly, there's a lot of grifts nowadays that are dangerous to this country. Like NFTs, we did a whole thing about that.
God, you're right.
That's a dangerous grift.
By the way, if you are, side note, if you are looking to buy your very own Net Surfer Pro Nufto, we do have a warehouse full of these USB drives, and we're not desperate to sell them. We've definitely got people clamoring for them, but, like, you know, upkeep costs are coming in, and so, like, if you guys could buy it and, you know, do something for once.
Yeah, you lazy bums.
Yeah. We've got these USB drives and everyone wants them.
Yeah. They're flying off the shelves so hard that we can't sell them. Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Act now, because they may be gone in the future. In 1 million years when the sun decomposes and blows up.
Or maybe in 1 year when we go defunct because of upkeep costs.
Yeah.
And then they'll be really expensive.
Yes. So, I don't really know how to segue that into our actual topic. I could say something like, you know what's a good grift to get on? Making collaborative art with friends. No, that's not a good segue. Hold on. You know what else is dangerous? Trying to overcrowd people into a small hut. Ooh, I got it. You know what's dangerous? Trying to spite Disney by making your own animated studio. Actually, no, that worked out. God damn it. So
it was dangerous. It just worked out.
Yeah. So today we're talking about Shrek. More specifically, Shrek Retold, which is a sort of remake of the first Shrek movie. And Shrek is a very complicated work. Both because of the work itself, but also because of its cultural significance.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Do you guys really have the wherewithal to tackle the cultural phenomenon that is Shrek? And the answer to that is... yeah, so Shrek is a 2001 animated movie made by DreamWorks Entertainment that follows the titular Shrek as he wants to live on his own, but then kind of gets thrust into adventure. Very monomyth. But you guys know what Shrek is.
Yeah, I feel like we don't need to summarize the plot of Shrek itself.
Yeah,
or Shrek's character, or Donkey's character. Everybody loves Donkey.
Or Fiona's character, or Puss in Boots' character, but he's in the next movie.
Or Felonious, who's not in the later movies.
Or Lord Farquaad, who is also not in the later movies, except apparently for the latest one that's about his ghost. I haven't seen it. It looks like it's probably bad. Anyway, no, but we don't need to talk about Shrek the movie itself. Because I think that most everybody who is on the internet has already at least got it through cultural osmosis, if not directly seen it. And honestly, at a certain point, it doesn't matter what the actual movie is. But what is interesting is the history of the movie. Like, the history of DreamWorks.
Right. So, DreamWorks was founded by Jeffrey Katzenberg, as well as Steven Spielberg and the musician David Geffen, and it was sort of founded as like a take that to Disney. It was very much like sort of meant to be a clean start for Katzenberg, especially to like kind of just poach some Disney talent, make some art that was not so beholden to Disney's like Disneyness, You know how Disney is. They're really Disney.
They're extremely Disney. You go to Disneyland and it's like, this is all Disney. Where's the universal appeal?
Yeah. So
I feel like you didn't. Hang on, sorry. I feel like you didn't hear that joke because I didn't hear any laughing. Let me just try that again.
All right.
I go to like Disneyland and it's like, where's the universal appeal?
Ah ha 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 ha. Good one.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So their first movie was Ants, which many get confused with Bug's Life. I think the rumor is that Jeffrey Katzenberg had seen the whole like pitch Bible and everything for Bug's Life and was like, "Ooh, I like that idea," which is sort of why there is the similarity between them.
Yeah.
DreamWorks basically inserting itself as a competitor to Disney from the get-go. Then they also quickly afterwards released Prince of Egypt, and then in 2000 Chicken Run, which was produced by Aardman. But their sort of main, I don't want to say breakout success, but it's definitely what cemented them as like a mainstay in pop culture was Shrek in 2001. Shrek itself is based off a children's book by William Steig and illustrated by William Steig. And it's pretty much, I mean, it's less sort of complicated than the movie, but it has the same concept of ogre rescues a princess turns out to be ugly, they love each other despite their lumps and warts, literally. But Shrek itself, it's really interesting to look at it in the context of DreamWorks because Disney had just gone through the Disney Renaissance, the sort of period during the 90s where Disney released like hit after hit, you know, like Hercules, Lion King, Aladdin, I think were all released around this time. And so all of these have very similar themes and messages and everything, kind of mood. It's Disney. But Shrek is sort of a response to all of those. You know, the hero is an ogre. The princess is an ogre. There's a lot of ogres. There's a lot of grossness, but also like Farquaad is sort of based off Michael Eisner, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it's still rumor status, but it's not terribly subtle if you sort of like look at them side by side that there's definitely a likeness.
Yeah, the whole like castle that he has, Duloc, is obviously a Disney World, Disneyland parody with like a whole queue line with a mascot and everything. And the general theme of like characters going against the hero's journey or like the traditional archetypical model. Yeah, they're going against tropes. Mold, that's it. MOLD, got it. That theme is very much sort of a response to Disney's sort of over-tropified genre. And so, you know, you have things like the reluctant, angry, brutish hero. Fiona fends for herself multiple times and is very capable. Donkey is comic relief, which is still kind of Disney. But yeah, I mean, just the sort of premise of like nobody can love an ogre and then ogre finds love is kind of a take that at how Disney's main characters are very like, I don't know, like Adonis-esque, definitely more sort of Western beauty styles.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interrogation of like the Beast, basically, of, you know, in popular culture, like Beauty and the Beast, in the end, the Beast turns into the hot human. The reward for loving the ugly person is that you get to see the beautiful person. But like in modern times with, you know, movies like Shape of Water, for example, there's sort of a lot of discussion about, hey, but what if people just like the Beast though? You know, what if the reward at the end isn't, oh good, now you have a traditionally hot man? What if you just sort of fall in love with this person, warts and all, and then you kind of just love them? And you can't really, well, you can probably. You indeed can, but like Shrek at the very least very much interrogates that in its own way of like the whole twist at the end of, you know, the princess transforms into true love's form and it turns out, wait, but she's still ugly. And it's like, but you are beautiful to the only one who matters, which is the one you love. So it's there's a it is very directly calling out Disney, and it is also very directly like using the tropes of Disney, the transformation at the end, just pretty much like so many of the people that they encounter are basically like who you would expect to be the hero in a Disney film, like Minjiur Hood is the daring, dashing rogue with a band of merry men who swoops in to save the princess from the beast, except that, oops, princess doesn't want to be rescued. The princess is literally with the beast on their own adventure. Or Farquaad himself kind of being the beautiful prince who's, got the whole kingdom to himself and just needs that one perfect piece. Shit like that.
Right. So Shrek, came out, big success, really widely beloved, followed up by 3 sequels, and I think a 5th one coming soon. Shrek 2 also is very apt at, like, comparing itself to Disney, even more so than I think the first one, because it has, like, the Prince Charming plot of, Shrek becomes a handsome man, but he doesn't like that. Prince Charming is, like, by all means the sort of, stereotypical Prince Charming from a Disney movie, but he's also just a huge asshole and is, like, not at all sincere. The Shrek movies, they also became, like, incredibly commercialized. Pretty much any merchandise you can think of was given a Shrek version. Shrek toothbrushes, Shrek Valentine's Day cards, Shrek cups, Shrek Halloween costumes, Shrek, Shrek the Flamethrower.
Yeah. It became like I wouldn't say it was Frozen levels. Frozen is sort of its own massive level on the side, like post Shrek. But like in terms of the mid 2000s merchandising, Shrek was absolutely like, I would hesitate to almost even say like, if Shrek came out nowadays, I feel like there would be criticism of the over-commercialization. I'm not knocking the movie for that necessarily. I just sort of think that's the level of commercialization that Shrek had around its heyday.
Yeah. At its peak, it was definitely a juggernaut. Also, Shrek as a character is very Homer Simpson-esque, and he kind of goes through a similar emotional growth. He's that, like, angry dad archetype that is lovable but has flaws. And he kind of grows by learning to love others and himself. And, but, like, it's kind of upsetting because his growth is so, like, I guess, endearing. But then he became sort of a just billboard figure. Like, an advertising figure. And it becomes hard to disassociate the character in the movies from the character on the napkin birthday party set. And so I think Shrek's prolificity kind of made him an easy target for that sort of corporate reclamation we've talked about before. He rose to prominence as a character and as a franchise throughout the 2000s, when many of, like, nowadays current internet people were either growing up or starting to really learn and practice their skills. So he's sort of like a character that was in the zeitgeist at the right time for the internet. And that sort of brings us to today. Shrek started becoming a huge meme. There's a lot of small different Shrek references. I think one of the earliest that I can really remember was Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. Copy pasta.
That 4chan green text.
Yes, which is a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Basically a short story. I feel like that gives it too much credit to call it a short story.
It's in the days before Twitter gave us all our culture through black people. 4chan gave us all of our internet culture through white people. through white 12-year-olds on 4chan. No knocking white 12-year-olds on 4chan. I was one. Actually do knock them. Knock them all the time,
yes.
Please. But yeah, I want to say it really is the originator of the like internet obsession with Shrek, at the very least of that period, is the Shrek is love, Shrek is life green text. And I mean, from there, it just kind of spiraled.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if it is so hard to look back on because, like, we live in such a post Shrek as meme, like, world that it is so weird to try and think about the time where, you know, Shrek was still just a face on a billboard and this funny new Shrek is love, Shrek is life thing came out. You know, it's like trying to imagine. No, I don't think I can make that joke. Never mind.
So, I think here's sort of an idea I want to posit here, is that I feel like there is this greater, like, more and more we're seeing this, but Shrek is sort of the perfect example of a character that is so used by fans and taken out of its original context that it's no longer necessarily bound by its original work. Like, when I think of Shrek nowadays, I don't necessarily think about a scene from the movie or something like that, or even the movies itself. I think about the world around Shrek, the culture of Shrek. Similar comparisons, I think the biggest one would be Bart Simpson, with like Bart Simpson bootlegs that have taken on their own life, sort of.
Yeah.
Goku, some recent ones are like Sans from Undertale and Nagito from Danganronpa. These are like characters, I guess Naruto is also an example, keeping with anime characters. These are characters that have just, they're, like I said, they're used so much by fans and taken out of context so much that their original context kind of doesn't matter. They can fit into any scenario because it's funny and because they just exist in the public zeitgeist.
Yeah, it's not public domain. They are still IP characters, but like the internet culture around them has become so dissociated from their original vision and that they are like internet domain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call it the anti-character because it's like, it's sort of a character, but their actual personality doesn't matter as much, if that makes sense.
It's not like when you put Shrek in a Shrek model in a dramatic YouTube 3D animation or something, like it's not necessarily funny because you think, haha, that Shrek, I know his character so well, he would never do this. It's funny because it is Shrek. Just the joke becomes it is Shrek, but then like it also becomes a background thing of like we don't actively think about it is Shrek. It's just sort of like he is now just a vehicle for whatever other jokes are to be made.
Yeah. So that takes us to, let me scroll up my notes here. That takes us to the sort of origin of Shrek Retold, which begins with 3GI Industries, an art collective headed by Grant Dufresne. They began Shrek Fest in 2014 as a joke, but it kind of spiraled into an actual thing that they did. Shrek Fest being this like celebration of art and culture centered around Shrek. So like fan works, cosplays, fan music, fan art, you name it. Since then, it's been held annually in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, Shrek Retold was released in, I believe, 2019? 2018. As a project...
Late 2018, specifically.
Okay. As a project organized by 3GI to kind of coincide with Shrek Fest. It contained work from over 200 artists, at least that's what their website says. And these contributions range from mediums including animation, live action, music, voice acting, and then some. Since Shrek Retold's release, they have also organized Sonic Rebuilt, which is a remake of the 1996 Sonic OVA, and they are currently making Shrek 2 Retold. Now, what is a retold? So, the retold style is a combination of sort of two subgenres of fan work. There's the more classic movie remake, and then there's the modern Reanimateds. Pretty much since the internet began and people could share video files, hobbyist filmmakers have remade movies usually of things like Star Wars and other kind of nerdy stuff that would kind of cross over. These are not necessarily trying to be theatrical quality, but are usually more of a show of ingenuity, style, and care. You know, it's not about remaking the movie to movie quality, but like, you know, trying to follow it to kind of some degree, trying to show off your creativity and your use of effects that are practical and, you know, manageable. And, you know, showing your own personality into it and your love for the original. Reanimated...
I want to, I guess, specifically highlight, it's more of a modern example, but the Killer Bean live action, there's, I think, an entire channel, but it's this one kid, I think he's like 16 or something, but he is basically like remaking scene by scene the Killer Bean animation, which, if you haven't seen, Google it, not going to explain it, but the ingenuity of it is just that, like, it is literally one person, and he gets so many things correct, just down to the little details that, by all rights, no one would really like blame you for just sort of skipping. And it's just sort of it's a fun experiment because it's just like it's yeah. I don't have anything to end that, actually. I don't know where that sentence was going.
Right.
Look it up. It's fun. Anyway.
So then there are Reanimateds, which are sort of a more recent form of collaboration. These involve many internet animators to remake some sort of video. I'm not sure what the earliest one was. I can tell you the earliest I saw was the Mama Luigi Reanimated collab, which remade the Mama Luigi episode of the Super Mario World cartoon. Some other well-known examples are like the Band Geeks collab, which remade the Band Geeks episode of SpongeBob, the Dover Boys Reanimated, the Zelda CDI Reanimated, which remade the cutscenes from that game, or those games, I guess, plural, and one of my personal recent favorites, the Rat Movie collab.
Yes. Oh god, the Rat Movie collab is so good.
The core sort of aspect of these is that there's no real instruction given to animators to follow any sort of consistency. It's just like, they'll get a scene and it's remake this scene. You know, keep it to some extent, I guess, similar, but just remake the scene. And so people are given a lot, and I mean a lot, of freedom to put their own spin on it. People will, like, completely reinvent cuts and shots and, you know, camera work. People will add things to the background or completely change the location it's in. As long as it's legible to some degree of kind of like the original scene, people are pretty much given freedom to do whatever, which means it's super expressive, if a little jarring. And so Shrek Retold is both, well, I guess not both, but it's like so many different mediums. It includes many different creators of all these different types of mediums. But in a way, because of that, it combines both the like fan remake movie and Reanimated, with more of the spirit of the Reanimated collab in terms of everybody kind of does their own style.
Yeah, basically, I would say the thing that makes Shrek Retold like elevates it. And that isn't to knock any of the Reanimateds, because pretty much every Reanimated I've ever seen is excellent as well. But the thing that I think like elevates Shrek Retold, shows how much love goes into it, is that as the creators sort of go around and express themselves, there are a lot of like varied scenes to where some of them are, you know, some people entirely just like kept the same dialogue and just reanimated with everything that was there. Some people reanimated with everything that was there, but like added in, you know, a few more twists to it. Some people, like, specifically in their remakes, didn't, you know, they kept the spirit of whatever the dialogue is, but they didn't literally word for word say it. You know, it varies between those, you know, styles enough that like every time, every beat, there is something new to laugh at. You know, so like I think a good example, and a very good early example, is when Shrek first, like, gets the fairy tale creatures, like they enter his place. There's it's the scene itself is a very quick beat, multiple people just animating, 5 seconds, 2 seconds, half a second, things like that. Where the dialogue is consistently voice acted through just one person, but then immediately after that is the bird segment, I think, where he doesn't literally copy it, but like he adds a lot of his own twists where, like, instead of just the dialogue, I think what does the pig say? It's like, he hoofed and he hoofed and he...
Oh, yeah, this is the part by Konjin. Yeah, it's the, he hoofed and he poofed and he overtook the capital. It's just like a very more... It's not at all the original dialogue. It's similar to the spirit. That's one of my favorite parts, too, because of just how kind of different it is.
Yeah. And then after that scene, it's not the Rat Boy segment, but it's a 3D animation that's fully consistent. It's all done by one animator, and it's the same dialogue, but it's all completely different from what was before, and it's all, internally consistent with just sort of its own thing. So it's, its own voice and its own what have you.
Right. I think you're talking about the really 3D segment where, like,
yes,
it uses the dialogue from the movie, but it's like voiced by some weird monster. Or it has like this monstrous voice to it. And then, of course, the 3D animation's really weird and messed up, because that's what really 3D does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have parts that are, like, visually very unique because of the style it uses, but are otherwise the same, like the Rat Boy scene, which is pretty much just word for word the, like, entrance to Duloc and then the actual, like, song in Duloc. But because of Rat Boy's visual style and voice acting style, it takes on a really different feel. And then, yeah, you have a lot of things where, like, I don't know, it looks completely different. A good example would be, like, the fight inside Farquaad's sort of boxing ring, where it's remade by the person that makes the SpongeBob anime, and it's given, like, both Japanese voice acting and just, like, pretty good 2D fight animation. Very, like, JoJo-esque. Then you have some where, like, the dialogue is completely different and the visuals don't exactly match up. Like the Sad World part, where they kind of just spit their own stuff and don't really care about following it to the T.
Actually, yeah, that's a good thing to mention, is that this isn't just an animation. It regularly switches between animation and various, like, live action creators who then remake the segment in their own manner. And so, like, you'll go to the Sad World segment, and then you'll have a segment after, which is the, like, arrow in the butt, and then you'll have Ukinojo's segment, which is pulling the arrow out of the butt, and it's 3D animated, and it's very rapid, like, rapid change in medium and style, and it really allows sort of everyone to flourish.
Yeah, there are, like, they definitely got, like, musicians to do the music segments. I particularly love the remake of, like, the Merry Men song done in this, like, hip-hop style.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the ending scene with Hot Dad doing I'm a Believer is very good.
Yeah. The Hallelujah segment also.
With David Lee part, yeah. Yeah, it's great because, like, there's no sort of strict direction to say, like, you must have Shrek end doing this pose, or, Shrek and Donkey must be doing this thing. There's no importance to, like, scene to scene consistency. I mean, I think plenty of people followed that anyways, because that's sort of what the original was like, but it's definitely more important to sort of do what you want over trying to make it fit as a whole, which is, I think, super interesting. It can be, like I said, it can be really jarring because there's shifts in tone and mood and visuals and audio and medium and everything. But, I mean, sort of the point of it is that it's not meant to be a product. This is sort of a big thing about a lot of these collaborative works, is that because, I mean, nobody's selling it, nobody's buying it, trying to make money isn't a thing. And so, like, you don't need to worry about quality control or anything for the largest market. But importantly, it is just a community celebration and, like, more of a fun project than anything else. And so it doesn't really matter as much if not everyone can gel with sort of the vibe of switching between styles so much, because that's not exactly who it's for, if that makes sense. It's as much for the people making it as it is for the people watching it.
Yeah. I one thing I do appreciate is that I think, barring exactly one exception, there is no, like, oh shit, it's that person. You know, like, recognizing the various styles is just a bonus. There's nothing that you need, like, 100% that you need any other real context to enjoy. You know, if you don't know who Uki Nojo is, if you don't know who Casey Green is, you can still, like, enjoy the hell out of their segments, because it isn't just like, oh shit, we got Casey Green to animate this part. We got Casey Green to animate this part, and he, made it he made it in a really, really funny manner. The only exception to this probably being Christina Weston Chandler, but also her segment is fucking great as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, also, David Liebhart has text saying that he is David Liebhart, and he is, I don't want to say a more notable person, but he is a professional actor. And I mean, yeah, it's it works really well if you don't know who is making most of these. Like, there's a lot of times where we were watching it and I was like, who made this part? And then it's somebody I knew. But there's also times where we're watching it, I said, who made this part? It wasn't somebody I knew, but then I started following their work afterwards. It's great to kind of discover people through these collabs. I also think that the weirdness is kind of, I don't want to say encouraged, but so Shrek being this sort of anti-character means that there's definitely been, already been experimental ventures into Shrek in weird psychedelic, post-information age kind of imagery and videos. I want to say, Pam Tree has done Shrek videos before. But, a lot of these sort of anti-characters work really well for those sorts of things because people already expect the characters to not be in something relating to the original. So, putting Shrek in this really, horrific background or something, or rendering him in this really brutal, 3D model, it kind of works because you already are disassociating Shrek from something that's more normal, if you will. Think of it like the Uncanny Valley. It's people who consume a lot of this stuff and make a lot of this stuff are used to Shrek being uncanny.
Yeah. Yeah. The dissociation of, on one hand of the valley you have on one hand of the valley you have just Shrek. You have just, a movie, and then on the other, and in the valley you probably have a movie that's very poorly shot. This manages to sort of eke out past that, because you could certainly say it is poorly shot in a, traditional sense of, obviously there's not a lot of continuity necessarily, or obviously, the way that Shrek acts in one scene isn't consistent to another, but the end product is something elevated past that, just because, as you had mentioned, the point isn't selling, the point isn't making a good movie. The good movie was already made. It's stylizing it.
The good movie was in us the whole time, which is more or less the whole point of these.
Actually, yes, that's That's a joke, but that's also basically kind of like the message, I guess.
Right. It's to me, it's very inspiring that like people have gotten together to make these sorts of things. Like an entire feature-length movie remake. All these different artists work together on this, and I think that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, it's there's not like a lot of being a creator is suffering. A lot of being a creator is, putting in a lot of work for something that's not going to ultimately pan out and, not having a lot of prospects of doing what you need to. This is something that is so beautiful by just like if one section doesn't pan out, that's okay. You've got 4 other sections that that are happening at the same time. Like if one section wasn't perfect, who's going to notice? Sad World just happened. Sad World's whole thing is that they are stylized imperfection and screaming a lot. So like the group sort of uplifts the individual. Oh shit! Is Shrek a communist masterpiece?
Yes, let's call Chef Rillessa over this. I'm sure he would have words. I do want to also say that a lot of the parts aren't like founded off technical skill, as in like there are definitely parts that don't seem like something a like classically trained artist would make. I think the Konjin part is great because it's just like shitty MS Paint drawings, but they're very endearing shitty MS Paint drawings. And that makes me feel good as somebody who can only make shitty MS Paint drawings. That like I can contribute to something like this if I wanted to. I'm not going to say what it was for, but I made my first fan art a few weeks ago in MS Paint, and I felt really good about it, not because it was particularly good, like well drawn or well constructed, but just because I made it. And I think that's the inspiring part that it feels like Shrek Retold and Shrek Fest itself want to convey. I mean, I don't know for sure because I've never met the creator and the people who put it on, but definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
I honestly don't have much else to talk about directly, I feel like. I don't know, I think there's a lot to say about Shrek itself, but I kind of would rather do that in the context of other Shrek things.
Yeah, this episode is sort of specifically targeting Shrek Retold. If we want to ever do like the whole Shrek series, we certainly could, especially because the third movie is generally regarded as the worst, and I haven't watched it in a long time, but I do have to say that like I know that the message at the end is like one standing in the way of your dream, which goes against the message of the very first movie, which is that society is putting Shrek down.
Yeah.
That, like, society is the one who put Shrek down in the first place.
It is really funny to think of how, like, this parody of Disney at the time kind of became the thing it was parodying, and now people have to parody the parody to make some sort of point. Like, Shrek was a take that at Disney. Shrek Retold is a take that at DreamWorks.
Yeah, like, it is an affectionate parody. It is pretty explicitly an affectionate parody, but you certainly could, like, make a case that Shrek the actual property lost its magic a little bit, in that, I mean, this is the problem of reclamation, though, isn't it? In the other way. This is the problem of, like, RoboCop or Judge Dredd. It's the you can have an original point and like it can be a very, very explicit criticism, but with corporatism at the helm, it's probably going to ultimately delve into corporatism.
Like
it's
Cool
ultimately
Punk.
going to become what it once was, what it once mocked.
Like Cool Punk. If you want to go back and listen to our Hypnospace video episode.
Yeah.
We don't have videos.
Pause this episode real quick. Listen to that whole episode.
Yeah. Go ahead and listen to that episode, then listen to the one after it and the one before it, but in that order. Trust me, it's better that way. It's like the machete order. Now, what would the machete order of Shrek be? 1 2 1 2 1 2 4 3 1 2. You really have to highlight the first two movies multiple times before you can watch it all go down the drain in the fourth one.
It's 1, 2, Retold. Read Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life.
Play Shrek Super Slam, which is like a good fighting game in spite of it being a Shrek video game.
In spite of it being definitely shovelware, it has a surprising amount of fun tech.
Yes.
And a fun skill ceiling.
I feel like we're pretty much done here. I feel like we're kind of careening off base. It's
as much like DreamWorks did when they started making more Shrek sequels.
And then they made Boss Baby. But you know what is good? How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2.
Yes, How to Train Your Dragon is extremely good.
Honestly,
I will say...
DreamWorks has some pretty good movies.
DreamWorks is Diet Disney, but like, man, when DreamWorks like wants to do something different, good God, did they do something good? Was Rango DreamWorks or was that Sony?
I don't remember.
I want to say that was Sony.
I know what was DreamWorks was Kung Fu Panda, and that was pretty good.
Yes.
The dumpling scene, super good. Top 10 fight scenes. Don't at me. Yeah, again, I don't really have much else to say other than that. I think sort of the point I want to make is that Shrek Retold is very interesting. I recommend checking it out if you haven't, because it's something you just kind of have to experience to understand. And if you don't understand it, that's fine. Just you know, it's more about the art.
Yeah.
Not about the fart.
Well, I mean, it is about the farts in many ways. That was one of the big things that Shrek was praised for, was its realistic farts.
An overwhelming heart.
You can't spell heart without a little bit of fart.
And you can't spell Net Surfer Pro without a little bit of a little bit of fart, but the F, the R, and the T, and Net Surf not in the right order. So this does not count for the Family Feud input detection system.
Dang.
That's for another day as well. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on social media at NetSurferPro on Facebook and Twitter. We post teasers for our episodes, except this one because I couldn't figure out what to make the teaser. And that means that by saying this now, I'm not going to implement a teaser between recording and uploading. Sorry, time travelers. I also, we would love any sort of feedback, any discussion of stuff we've talked about, any ideas or sort of requests for what to cover. We're certainly interested in hearing what y'all have to say. You can also give us a review on any podcasting platform you listen to us on, because that would really help us out, help us sort of get a feel for how things are going, because we can't feel the internet. It's ethereal. But you know what you can feel is Shrek. Okay, I'll stop. So you can follow me on Twitter at MattCraigGaming, where I post things that I'm doing, things that I'm talking about. I post links to my stream when I go live and videos when I make them, which I am working on one. I stream at twitch.tv/twack. That's twitch.tv/twak. I stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually. Kind of the exact time's been up in the air, but if you follow me there, then you can see when I go live directly. I've been playing Miitopia recently. Very fun game. I have a very good cast of characters. Excited to get back into it next week. Or this week, I guess. And that's it for me.
You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/GALENWILS0N. I post my hot takes and retweet some cool stuff. You can follow me on YouTube at The Only Galen on YouTube. I might have a video up sometime within the Heat Death of the Universe. And you can follow me on Twitch. You can follow me on Twitch at Machine Gun Vampire. I don't know. I might stream. I've been playing a lot of City Heroes. I might stream that. I don't know.
Ooh.
But with that, I've been Galen.
And I've been Matt.
And don't forget to buy onions.
Oh,
this video
I get
has been
it.
sponsored by onions.
I get it. We're sponsored by onions. Give me the onion money. Goodbye.